Hi everyone, hope you are all doing well, keeping yourself healthy and safe. So we are going to have fun tonight with some gelatin flowers. So first of all, just want to say hi to everyone, and then just to get through all the equipment and ingredients needed, and I will explain how to prepare the gelatin solution and what sort of strength you need to look for, and then what sort of thickness you will need for your wires. And I will create some petals using some colored gelatin solution, some leaves, and I'll put together a little flower similar with the one I've just showed you. Yeah, so we'll try to achieve something similar, with the only difference, this flower was made a while ago, and during the time, especially on the first 24 hours, the petals will intend to shrink a lot. So that was not the original size and shape of the flower. It shrunk over the time because it lost the water. So you will be surprised actually about how the flower is going to look when by the end of the demo, and how it's going to look tomorrow when I will upload some photos. This is another one which I've just created, made out of gelatin, so it's still very soft, pliable. Those are not breakable. You can do whatever you want with the flower, not even when they are dry. Because they are so full, they will intend to lose the water and get quite brittle, They actually don't break, but they feel like they are brittle. Sorry, one of my phones, I've left the alarm on, I think. So sorry for that. So the petals will lose the water, they will get quite firm to touch, and they will shrink. So again, I'm going to post photo with this flower tomorrow so you can see the difference. So let's look at the ingredients first and talk about the gelatin. So we are going to use animal gelatin. I don't use vegan or vegetarian gelatin because it doesn't behave properly. I've tried to use it. It works similar when you start making the petals, but then when it starts getting dry, it tends to come off from the wire. So it's pointless to stress using vegetal gelatin. So I'm going to use animal gelatin. So I've got two types of gelatin here. I've got the powdered one, and the some leaves or sheets. Okay, so before proceeding with the preparation of the solution, just to say a few words about the gelatin. The gelatin obviously is a protein, animal protein. It is made out either using pig skin or beef skin. You can imagine a rope which is twisted, which is your raw gelatin that gets boiled. So the gelatin strands, they do separate, they get cleaned properly, all the impurities are taken away, and then just the pure gelatin is put together, tied into a new rope, and then sent out for consuming. So they practically intend to remove the odors and all the dirt and everything else. So what we get is pure gelatin. And the gelatin usually helps patissiers and bakers when they prepare their products to get a quicker setting on the creams or some of the patisserie products. Now I've got here some gelatin sheets. Those gelatin sheets are kind of a modern way of presenting the gelatin. In the past, the most popular type of gelatin was the powdered one, but nowadays professionals intend to use sheets more than powders. Reason being, those sheets are made so whenever you prepare something, you might actually probably have noticed in some of the recipes when it says just put 1 sheet, 2 sheets, 3 sheets. Because the sheets, they do come in different sizes, different lengths, different thicknesses, sometimes different colors, but they all work the same. So practically, you have got the same strength of gelatin regardless the size of the sheet. Okay, so then it's easier to say, instead of how many grams, to say how many sheets. But just for your knowledge, a gold sheet like the one I've got in here is got 2 grams. There are platinum sheets which are much smaller in size, but practically the power of that platinum gelatin is the equivalent of the gold gelatin. So if you pick 1 sheet of platinum, it works in the same way like 1 sheet of gold. There is also gelatin sheet available as ruby. That again is got a different size, different color, but 1 sheet of ruby will set the desserts in the same way like 1 sheet of this gold will do. When it comes to powdered gelatin, you do need to make sure that you've got the correct strength. It says blooms, so you need to look for at least 180 blooms. On this particular one, it says it's made from pig skin. Some of them might say is pig, some of them might say is beef, but really doesn't matter, it's anyway animal. The fish gelatin, I've never tried to make flowers using fish gelatin, that's fine, but considering the fish is an allergen, I wouldn't bother too much about using fish gelatin. And when you prepare desserts, you've got the option of using the most modern gelatin like agar or NP gelatin or whatever. There are many fancy gelatins available on the market, which are suitable for vegan desserts as well. But when it comes to flowers, decorations, which we do intend to say they are edible, because they are made out of an edible material, but they cannot be eaten. They've got wires, so I don't think anyone wants, chunk a piece of wire. So it's just the art of making those sugar flowers or gelatin flowers out of an edible material. It's not the case that we practically end up eating those petals, because as I said, they are made on wires anyway. Going back to the powdered gelatin, so I've got 180. When you get gelatin as a powder, you need to make sure that the bloom is between 180 and 200, because that's your gold gelatin, is the gold strength. Rule of thumb, 1 teaspoon of powdered gelatin between 180 and 200 blooms will be the equivalent of 1 sheet of gold. So 1 sheet, 1 tablespoon, or 1 teaspoon, sorry. So 1 sheet or a 1 teaspoon of powdered one, as long as the bloom is 180 to 200, which this bloom, it means that it's quite a strong gelatin. Quite often, there are gelatins, powdered gelatins available on eBay, on the internet, and they are below 180. So you need to make sure that you use the correct strength when it comes to powder. If you get like 140 and 160, you might need to add more gelatin. I know people who had been struggling obtaining the right consistency in different desserts. In fact, they did not use the right strength gelatin. So the strength of gelatin is super important. There is also platinum gelatin, which comes in as a powder, and the strength, the bloom is about 220 up to 240. So even the powdered gelatin, it can be bought in different strengths. So just bear in mind, the one you need, gold gelatin, that would be just fine. And then you will know to how to practically use it. As a 1 teaspoon of powdered gold gelatin will be the equivalent of a 1 sheet of gold gelatin. And I've mentioned previously that 1 sheet of gold gelatin will weigh 2 grams. Now, when it comes to the preparation of the solution for making flowers, the percentage is 2 grams of gelatin, regardless that you use powdered or sheet gelatin. So 2 grams of gelatin with 5 grams of water. Just as a quick thing to notice here, whenever we prepare desserts, we make glazes and stuff, we intend to use 1 gram gelatin to 5 grams water. Okay, in this case I've got a double amount of gelatin because I want the gelatin to set quick and to remain quite nice. Yeah, so 2 grams of gelatin for 5 grams of water, and then you multiply for as many times as you like. I'm going to start preparing the, for God's sake, my alarm is still keeps going on, so just ignore it, same like I will do. I'm going to start preparing the solution, and I'm going to use powdered gelatin because I'm going to color some in green and some in kind of a pink or orange, whatever. I'm also going to do some in gold using some dust. I'm thinking of preparing about the solution based on 100 grams of water. So I just need to multiply. If I said I need 2 grams of gelatin for 5 grams of water, how much gelatin do I need for 100 grams of water? Obviously, I need to multiply the amount of gelatin with 20. Okay, because I've got 5 grams by 20, multiply with 20, I've got 100 grams of water. Then 2 grams of gelatin multiplied by 20, 40 grams of gelatin. It sounds a lot, but the gelatin actually, it is kind of heavy, so yeah, it's not a huge amount. So we will prepare the solution and then we'll start coloring, and it will not take very long, to be honest, to prepare it and then start making the petals. The longest part is talking about the gelatin. Just to say that gelatin, once is stored properly in a dry place away from humidity and light, it will be fine for about 5 years. So it's got a very long shelf life because there is no water on it. So even your flowers, once you finish making your flowers, you need to make sure you don't keep them near to any kind of moisture. Okay, so away from any moisture. Whenever you hydrate the gelatin is a protein, but whenever you hydrate the gelatin, you need to use water, and we intend to use cold water. Reason being, the room temperature water or the high temperature water, it will affect the capacity of the gelatin of setting your solution. So it will affect the setting time. Okay, so we need to avoid lukewarm or just hot water. We will use cold water to hydrate the protein, and then once it's hydrated, and the rehydration process takes about 5 minutes, we'll pop the solution into the microwave and we'll warm it up to about 60 degrees. Now, if you don't have a microwave handy, you can warm it on any heating plate, but just be careful. If the temperature of the gelatin goes over 85 degrees, then the structure gets destroyed and your gelatin will not be able to set anymore any of your products, regardless that we are talking about any patisserie work or flowers. So no temperatures over 85 degrees. Okay. Now when we start making the petals, we need to keep the workable temperature around 45 to 50 degrees. Now, how do we do that? I've got here a yogurt maker. Okay, this is normally the device which I use to keep my cocoa butter colors warm. It goes up to 70 degrees. Because I'm going to keep taking the lid away, the temperature probably will drop to even 30 degrees. So it does develop the right temperature, but it doesn't keep it quite stable because it's not fully insulated. So a yogurt maker, a chocolate melter or candy melter, a dehydrator, all of those will give you the right temperature. If you don't have any of those, that's no problem. All you can need to do is just get a bowl with hot water and introduce your containers. I'm going to use some plastic containers. So you just need to get that bowl of hot water and just pop those on the top. But you will have the hassle of rewarming that water every now and then. So I prefer to use my yogurt maker. I also have got my microwaves handy in case the temperature drops too much and the gelatin starts setting. I will rewarm in the microwave. So let's get started. I've got a scale. Now I do hope you can all hear me. I can't really talk too loud and I can't talk too much, so I will start working and somehow stop talking. But if you've got any questions, you know, you can always pop the questions, and this video will be available to watch either on the Academy of Cake Decorating Facebook page or on the Facebook group. On the group we do have a lot of tutorials and there are, you know, put all in topics, so if you are looking for a particular topic you can pick that topic. Also it will be a you know, a multitude of free courses available to watch soon as my voice gets sorted. So I'm going to put this on the scale and I've got some water here. I'm just using tap water, but it is cold. I need to admit it's cold. Set the scale to 0. Let's try and see. Just got some light in here. If I take this away, and let's see what happens, because for some reason the light is not very good. Just trying to change the, sorry. That's when you are not professional and you don't really know what to do. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So just because it's so much light and the surface is white, as I want you to see what happens here, the light starts, the waves are starting to run away from one place to the other. So I'm just going to set the 100 grams of water. Oops, I've got such a lazy scale. It always works slower than you think. I'm not saying that you need to be super precise, but I would like to stick with the quantities just to make sure things are getting correct in place. And I'm also going to use, I'm going to use the powdered gelatin. It looks like a, it looks like a fine caster sugar. So we'll set the scale to 0. Just wait for my lazy scale to wake up. Oh, come on, come on. Almost there, just 3 or 4 more grams. $39.40, that's fine. should complain about those scales as they are too lazy. All I'm going to do, I will just wait till the gelatin gets hydrated. It looks like semolina now. You don't need to stir too vigorously, as you don't want to incorporate too much air. Yeah. So just wait for about 5 minutes. Now, while we are waiting for this to hydrate, let's make the frames of the wires, of the petals, sorry, using the wires. You can use whatever cutters you prefer. I've already made some frames here. So those will be used for making the leaves. And I've made them obviously with green wires. You can use wires like 28 or 30. I normally store my wires in little, jars for spices. And I've got 28 gauge wires. I'm going to make one leaf out of this 28 gauge wire. I've actually used a cutter for making sage leaves. Okay, so all you need to do is to pop the wire around the base. Let's see if I can put this on the back so that you can see. Got a piece of wire, hanging on a side, and I will just twist the end. Make it quite tight. So that's one of the reasons why we use soft wires, thin wires, because we can bend them nicely. If you make very large petals, you might need to increase the size of the wire. Or thinking if you need to increase, you need to decrease, sorry. The smaller the number, the thicker the wire. So if you need a thicker wire, you need to go down to 26 or 24. But those are not very easy to twist like this one. Then to make the petals, I've picked what did I pick? Initially I thought about using a petal cutter, rose petal cutter, but then I've changed my mind and I've used a round cutter. This is a cutter from the set of cutters for making orchids, moth orchids. Yeah. But anything will do. You don't really need to use a particular type of cutter. They can also be metallic cutters or plastic cutters. In the same way, I will just wrap the wire around the cutter and then just twist the base a little. Okay, just to show you as an idea, I've got here a cutter. This is from the Cymbidium orchid set to make the throat of an orchid. So whenever you want to use those type of cutters, what you should do, get something and bend the wire using that cutter. Yeah, so that just gives kind of a nice free leaf. Oops. Sure, if you can see, just gives a kind of a frilling to the wire. Okay, so as I said, you can decide what cutters you want to use. I've got a multitude of cutters. I also have got a small rolling pin, which might be quite useful when we bend the petals, but if you don't have one, don't panic. You can use the normal one. You can use the handle of a palette knife or a brush, whatever you've got handy. So nothing to panic about. Good. Now I'm going to look at the solution now and see how that looks like. Yeah, it kind of absorbed all the moisture. So I'll just break this into pieces just to allow the heat of the microwave to get into the in between the particles. And I will pop it on the microwave. I know for sure that it's going to take 30 seconds. So we'll just pop it for 30 seconds. And I've got a 700 watts microwave, so it's not super strong. It's like kind of medium power, I think. We'll see what happens. I also have got some colors here. I've got fractal colors, but it doesn't matter what brand you use. I've got some liquid color for airbrushing. I just thought to change the color as I did pink and purple, so I'm going to go for Tiger Orange, which is gel paste color from PME. And for the gold option, I will pick the Squire's Kitchen dust. So we'll just do 3 different colors. Yeah. I'm going to do one in green. Still got the green from this morning as I was demonstrating at Pretty Witty Academy. And well, I had everything set. I just thought I will quickly run another one for this academy. Okay, so as you can see, it's quite melted. Again, just gently stir, as you don't want the air bubbles or the dirt. It's not dirt, just comes. So just to kind of make sure there are no like chunky particles left. And I will pop this in the microwave for probably about 10 more seconds, not minutes. Yeah, I don't want to destroy the protein. I don't want to put the protein over 80 degrees. Like 60 degrees will be fine. I do have a thermometer as well, just to show you, but it should be quite noticeable when you touch with your hand. It feels warm, but it's not hot. So I was talking about colors, and also I've got here, oops, sorry, I forgot, more than like 15 seconds. I've got some wooden spatulas, which I normally use for mixing in the colors. So I'm going to reuse those as they will be perfectly fine. So let's have a quick look and see how that looks, and just check the temperature as well. Just going to get my spoon. I'm going to remove all this foam, which got built right at the top. Yeah. So let me just get a piece of kitchen paper. Great. So I'm just going to kind of pick all this foam. This is kind of a waste, but I don't think it's more than maybe 2 grams. As it's very, very light. You will notice the process of making those flowers is so quick, unbelievable. It's just the talking part. Just trying to give you the full scenario so that you can understand what you are working with. Once prepared and colored, this solution can be stored in a fridge. They said up to 4 to 5 days, definitely 2-3 days. I've never kept it for longer because to be honest, whenever I prepare, I intend to just make as many flowers as I need, and then everything else gets washed. But you can store it for like 2 days or 3 days for sure. But gelatin being a protein in being mixed with water, obviously, it's got a very short shelf life, so you can't really keep it forever. It's just better to keep it dry because, as I said, dry, the gelatin will have a shelf life of about 5 years. So it does look fairly clean. I'm just going to take this away. Oops. Trying not to. And I've done more mess than, and I've got a damp cloth, and that's fine. Just quickly wipe the surface as it is going to get very, very sticky. But you can leave the gelatins to set. It's going to set super quick, and you can just peel off the settled gelatin. But because I've got this damp cloth, it will be fine to wipe. Let's double check the temperature. So I've got 47 degrees. Okay, so that definitely can go back in the microwave for a few more seconds, maybe another 5 or 6 seconds. And then I'm going to pour into those containers and then start mixing the colors. Okay, so just did it for a few more seconds. Let's see what the temperature is like. So I've got 49, that's not too bad. So you can go up to 60 if you like. So I'm just going to pour some in here, some in here, and some in here. And the rest will just remain in this container. I've mentioned it can be stored in a fridge, colored or uncolored, or I think even at the room temperature will do. So a few drops of green, depending on how deep you want the green color to be like. Again, when you mix, don't stir too vigorously, just help the color to get evenly spreaded. I will be fine with this marble effect, and I'm going to place this into my hot container. Still keep this because I might need it later. And then I will get to, let's go to the dust. Get, small amount of dust, maybe the equivalent of a gram. Okay, and also now because it's dust, it will take longer to mix. I'm just trying to smudge on the side, not to incorporate too much air. It turns out really nice. Okay, that goes in here as well. And the last bit, I've got this gel color, and I've got a toothpick so that I can get some of this color. And as I've never used it before, I really don't know how much I need to add to get a certain strength, so I will just add quite a bit. I want to mention about the coloring. Gelatin is sensitive to temperature, so you need to make sure that you don't overheat. It's sensitive to alcohol, so don't keep the gelatin in contact with alcohol. Pour alcohol for, I don't know for what reasons. And is also quite tricky when it comes to acids. So that's the reason why when we use in a patisserie gelatin mixed with kiwi or pineapple, we need to bear in mind that the acid will change the power of the gelatin. So same thing will happen if you color your gelatin with colors which do contain preservatives based on acids. So always check the label and make sure that there are no acid. I can tell you for sure that some of the liquid colors, if you buy them, when you open the lid, they smell as vinegar. So that's obviously one of the types of colors which do have as preservatives acids, and they will deteriorate the capacity of your gelatin to set quick. Okay, so my solution is ready. My frames are ready as well. I'm ready as well. Hope you are too. So I've got some brushes here, and I will show you what I'm going to use them for. And I also have got some cake cards. Now those cake cards are quite useful, and they are nice because they've got a flat, shiny surface. But if you don't have a glossy cake card, you can use any piece of or any flat surface wrapped with some cling film, if you want to get this kind of a glossy look onto your gelatin. As if the surface is not glossy, obviously you will not get that reflection. So I'm going to start making the leaves. Let's get the leaves. Double check the temperature just to make sure it's not below 40. As if it's under 40, it might get too runny. So if you see, it's about 40 to 49. Okay, so I'm going to get my wires one by one. I will insert the wire onto my solution and then just pick and place flat. So easy. You see? Oops. Again, put in the solution, pop down. Wires are super light and flimsy, so my hand is shaky, but those wires are wearing part of the fault because they are so fine. You can't believe it. Okay, so literally is that easy. I'm going to show you another method in a sec. Okay, look, I think this frame actually, no, it works. At some time, but I notice that usually happens when the gelatin is too runny. You end up, like now, not catching the gelatin on the wire. You still need to dip this into the solution and get gelatin on the wire. Then you place the wire on the board. Get a little brush, or even with your, you know, the stick you've used for mixing. You pour a little bit of this liquid in here and you start quickly to spread. If you don't spread it nicely and you go over the frame, that's no problem, as you can trim the excess with a scissor. But if you pay attention, it should be all nice and clean. Okay, as you can notice, the color is much deeper. It actually looks better. But the problem is it will start shrinking and you will kind of get much smaller by just the fact that it's got so much water and the water will evaporate. So partly those petals have been the same size, and you notice how much the one under my right hand got shrunk, just because that was made with the same method I did the first leaves. That was with the method I've used for the leaf, the last leaf. Yeah, so the thicker the layer of the gelatin, obviously the more water you've got involved in there, and the more water will evaporate, the smaller the petal will end up looking like. So we've got another frame in here. The gelatin actually got quite cold, but hopefully we'll be able to get this out as well. So they are all flat. Another thing which I want to show you using a veiner, if I put some gelatin onto a veiner. So that's how you can make leaves without making a frame. You can also just use a piping bag and pipe. Once you know what to do, you can get creative. And then I'm going to insert a piece of wire. Dip the wire into the gelatin just to make sure that it will stick to my... And I will just leave it. In the end, I will get a leaf similar with this. And you can see how firm that is, and if flexible, I can try and bend it. And trust me, I put pressure on here and it still doesn't break. And I'm going to put this back into here. Then I'm going to go to my... In fact, let me show you how quick those leaves are set. Yeah, so you literally just peel them and curl them in the way you like. Okay, you can touch them, but make sure your fingers are not wet. You can stretch them if you want, or just bend them, or curl the leaves, the petals in the way you want. Okay, just going to put them in here. So just do the same with the other one. Or, you know, I said about the rolling pin, that can help you to put a bit of shape into it. So you can create wings for butterflies or for your fairies and different curves on your petals, on your leaves. You only need to bear in mind nothing full with moisture around. Also, you notice here I've got this little bit sticking out. Just simply get a scissor or a sharp knife and take that away. And again, just bend in whatever way you prefer. If you don't like it, you come back. Those leaves will stay flexible for about an hour or 2 hours. Then they will dry, but they will still be safe to touch even after weeks. They will not break. You see, I'm applying pressure to those and nothing happens. Very, very easy to maneuver. If you're going to use them to decorate cakes, make sure that they don't touch the surface of the fondant or your buttercream, because those surfaces are having a lot of moisture. And literally your gelatin, even if it's like made while in advance, it will absorb that moisture and all the flowers will collapse. Now when it comes to this, because I've got such a large amount of gelatin, if you are afraid that this might, the wire might come off without the gelatin, just use a little palette knife and detach. If not, yeah, just literally just pick this up. So it looks really easy. I feel like on those commercials, you know, when people are selling stuff, I don't sell anything, but yeah, anyway. So I just want you to kind of have fun with those petals. So again, you see it looks really, really nice, but this will shrink. I will post some photos with how they look tomorrow so you can see the difference. Now quickly, I will start getting my petals done. And what I thought it would be nice, I'm going to do, how many do I have here? 6, yeah? So I'll do 3 petals in orange and 3 petals in gold. So let's start with the gold. Check the temperature. I'm not saying you need to check the temperature. I just want you to get an idea about what temperatures I'm using. And I've got 41 degrees, which is great. Again, dipping that. It doesn't show too much because it's translucent. Okay. Just trying to see if I can convince this to get covered. But what I can also do, yeah, I can put some more of this gelatin and fill up the petal. So it works even after, if you say now I really want this to get fuller and have a brighter finishing, you can add a touch of gelatin. Oops, it doesn't matter if you go next to the frame like I did, as you can trim with, try and get rid of the air bubbles as they don't look nice. I don't know how I've managed to pick so many. Let's try and get rid of those using a brush. Now, unfortunately, the gelatin does get set fairly quick, so. But at least to make it not to look so horrible with big bubbles of air. I had a big bubble in here and I've picked it on my wooden skewer. Okay, so I'm just going to spread this. So you can use a brush, you can use a wooden skewer, wooden stick, whatever. Good, let me just show you how this looks. Yeah, so it's got a completely different look. So I'm going to now do the same thing with the orange. So I'll just dip the wire into the solution. Just suddenly he decided not to get catched. Yep. So it might take a few attempts. That's no problem. I did not like the spot, so I decided to redo it. Okay. What I'm also thinking, I always think, I'm sure you are in the same boat with me, always trying to come up with different ideas. I'm going to use some of the gold gelatin and place it over the orange and see how everything is going to look like. I'm hoping I will get some orange on one side and some gold effect on the other. It looks actually quite nice if you use a darker color than orange, but as I've made the orange, I will just stick with the orange. So you can try with a deeper color. Good. Don't forget, if you like the video, the demo, just put a comment. If you want to hear about anything else, let me know. feel free to join the Academy of Cake Decorating group, where I constantly post different things which might be useful for you to know. And just watch for the next tutorial. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do, but I will definitely try and look for something interesting. So I'm going to peel off this leaf. Now it is quite flimsy because it doesn't have any support, but it comes off very easy. And now this will need to be left to dry. It doesn't get dry, it just loses the water, but yeah, somehow it gets dry. Yeah. And what is difficult to control is the way how it dries. It will shrink somehow. You see, you get irregular shapes, but I think that's the beauty, because you get like really natural look finishing. And because I want those petals to come up in full and I don't want them to stretch too much, I'll pick them with my palette knife. But for sure you can just do it freehand. What I'm trying to do is not to enlarge the petals too much, that's because it's quite a thick layer. The gelatin might be still stretchy, and it might create a bit of a, how do you call it, excess, like in here, see, and it will not look quite nice. You see, I've got a bit of a hanging over the edge gelatin. Okay, just trying to lift this. It's not going to break or anything. Okay, and I'm going to start placing all those petals together. Now, using my rolling pin, you see, that's the beautiful orange which I was talking about. So I'm just going to bend those petals with that orange part outside. Okay, so again, just trying to get pretty much the same sort of curve. As long as your fingers are not wet, you're not going to ruin the petals. So you can touch them, you can maneuver them in the way you want. Make sure you don't use wet tools and you don't have your fingers wet. Okay, so I've made those that way. I'm planning to make the other petals. I mean, practically you curve the petals in the same way, so I'm just trying to do it so that the petals don't show the wire. Okay, we'll show you how everything looks like when we tape things together. I'm going to get some stamens. I've got some gem stamens in here, which I'm going to tape, and this time I'm going to use a 20 gauge wire. I'm going to use one piece of wire to set the flowers and another piece of wire to set some foliage. I've got a plier which I'm going to use to cut, as I don't need such a long wire for the foliage. So let's tidy up in here, as we've got so many bits around. We can get confused which one wants to use. Oh, and by the way, before starting to set the flowers, I'll just put this on the side so that I can show you how it looks like. Still got some gelatin here, so I'm going to pour some of the green gelatin along with some of the orange and some of the gold. Just do like a mix, and I'm going to spread those colors and get like kind of a sail. Just leave it to set for a little, and then I will show you how it looks and then place it back. So let's go back to the wires. I've got some wires and I've got some tape. It's like floral tape. You know, with the floral tape, what you need to do is to stretch the tape, as it's got wax, just to help that wax to start working. Pick the side which has got the most part of the wax, is the one which is going to stick to your fingers. Yeah, And then just rub this tightly around the wire, and then press with your thumb, with the nail of your thumb, so that it gets like a little flag. And then grab your stamens. I'm going to leave the stamens hanging over the wire a little, so I'm not going to tape them very tightly right below. I'll just leave a bit of a spare thread. As literally, those stamens are pieces of thread, cotton thread, treated with some starch, so they get quite firm, and they've got a little decoration, colored decoration right on the top. So you can make your own by piping, but it's a time-consuming job. So, oh, what did I do? Silly me. Yeah, anyway, let's do it this way. It was supposed to actually do this, use this wire for leaves and this for flowers. Never mind. So I'm going to start with the flower. We'll start with the largest petals, the gold petals. Oh my god, I'm getting silly. So I'm going to bend the wire. You see, it looks like an S, just for a bit more interest in give more interest to this flower. You can just, you know, tape the petals in the way you want. Just trying to give you some ideas. Okay, and then we'll get the second gold and do it in the same way. Now the wires are fairly short, so I need to kind of do it quite tightly. Okay, now I do need to fit the third one, so I need to pull gently to make enough room for the third one. So they kind of look that they are covering the center. Okay. What is important when you tape is to make sure that all the wires are nicely covered. Yeah, so you don't have wires sticking everywhere. Don't worry about opening the petals yet. Just get the other three, the orange ones, put them in between. Okay, so I place the first one. So in between two of the gold. Yeah, and then keep twisting. Get to the next bit. If you need to bend the wires, do bend the wires. You can bend the petal as well. It's not going to break, so it's nothing like sugar flowers. Again, always make sure that you've got all the wires taped nicely. And then go to the last bit. Last petal. If you need to bend the wire, or as said, you can safely touch the petal as well. But just make sure again and again and again your fingers are dry, so you don't have any moisture or anything else, any dirt on your fingers. Once you finish, you can just tape down. But what I'm thinking, because I've got so much green in here, I might actually decide to put some kind of calyx. Just bend, see, even now I can still bend. So I'm going to attach 3 petals, mimicking the calyx of a flower. It's just going to give a more like a green effect. Okay, so you see that? 1, and again another one here. You can be so, in case that you did not pull out the wire enough, you can do it from underneath. Yeah. You can get so creative with this gelatine, I can't tell you. It's so easy. And once you've made, like I did, based on 100 grams of water, this solution will be enough for you to make loads and loads of petals. Using this easy method. With the other method, you are going to use somewhere around 1.5 to, when it comes to large petals, even 2 grams, 3 grams of gelatine. But for those petals, the ones we've made here, you can make hundreds out of what we did. Good. So once you've got all the petals up, just continue to tape down on the stem, stretching the tape and twisting to cover all the wires. Okay, just taped tightly so that it looks good. And all we've got to do now is just to open up the petals and see the beauty of the flower. Okay, I think it looks quite pretty. Let's see if we get this in here. Okay, and yeah, so we'll carry on adding the leaves for like another minute or so and finish with the foliage and with the whole display. So another piece of tape which I will stretch, get a small piece of wire, twist, catch one of the leaves. Whenever you tape, make sure you cover all the wires, go down on the stem. And I'm going to attach 2 more, but I will try and I've got 4 leaves and they're all 4 different sizes, but it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. I'm not aiming for a botanically correct flower here. It's just a fantasy flower. It's mainly to get the skill of working with gelatin, so we are not aiming for perfection here. I'm one of those people who don't actually believe in perfection. I think the imperfection makes the beauty of every people, every item, every event, everything in life. So I'm going to join those 2 pieces, carry on taping down. If we admit that we are imperfect, we can hope that one day we will be happy. But if we aim for perfection, that's never ever going to happen. So let's try and be happy. Okay, so I'm going to cut this down. So I've actually taped some extra tape over the wire just to create a bit of a curl. And then I'm also going to bend the wires. There is no particular rule how to do it, but if you leave the wires straight without bending, it just, everything looks so fake. It's just, I don't know, it's so far from the real life. I can't tell you. It just looks horrible. So just try and bend the wires as much as you can. Okay, and we've got here a pretty flower, I think. And on the other side we've got this little decoration. Oh, it looks weird, does it? Like how is it called, slush? Or okay, but it's got beautiful effect which you can practically transform into a sail, but you just need to leave it to dry. I've got one fully dry in here. I was just green and gold, and it took me a good effort to try and break it. It gets so firm, I mean so flexible. If you will come in contact with humidity, it will get soft, but when it's dry, it's quite brittle. This was made this morning while I was running that demo at Pretty Witty Academy. So you see the sides already started to lose the water, but the center is still gummy. Okay, so again, if you want this to dry in a particular shape, you should leave it like that for a good amount of time, like maybe, I don't know, 3-4 hours at least, but overnight if possible. Good. So I hope you've enjoyed the demo. Like a quick recap, we've discussed about how we cook, how we prepare the gelatin solution, how we color, how we store, how we do the frames for the petals and the leaves, and we ended up with a pretty flower. So let me know if you've got any questions in regards with the gelatin or the method I've used for creating the flower. Also, any other suggestion for the next demo, or what you would like to see. So hope to see you on the Academy's group as well. or on our YouTube channel, whatever is convenient for yourself. Have a lovely evening. Bye bye.